G'day folks, it's the Motorrad rider. Today I'm going to be doing the install of the MachineArt Moto X-head cylinder head covers on my BMW R1200GS. If you're looking at fitting these cylinder head covers, stay tuned and hopefully you'll get something out of it. Okay folks, this is what you're given in the kit that's supplied by MachineArt Moto. You get a decent set of instructions, obviously your X heads, left and right, and you get a packet of 4 screws, bolts, whatever you would like to call them. The 2 long ones in there, they actually replace the rear cylinder head cover bolt supplied by BMW. So this is a longer bolt, and we'll go through that process a little bit later on in the install. And these 2 shorter screws, they actually locate in underneath the cylinder head cover itself. You'll see all of that as we go through the install. So stay tuned and we'll get to it, and hopefully it'll make life a little bit easier for you if you're going to go and do these, the install for these units. Okay folks, eyes down for some fun. So what we're going to do is remove this crash bar. We need to take that off because there's something I'm going to show you a little bit later as to why we need to fully remove it. But, and I did forget to mention, it's not mentioned in the instructions too, that you will need a T40. Torx 40. The screws at the front here, this one, the one down here on the bottom flange, and the one up here on the upper mount flange are T40s. They are not T50s, they're not T25s, they're T40s. So make sure you've got one of those, otherwise you won't be going anywhere with this install. Okay, under here there are a couple of little plastic clips that locate the spot wires or the fog light wires. So just if we can pop them, that would be good. So just unclip them. They're not necessarily that hard to do, they're just a little bit fiddly. So get in there, and of course I don't have, there we go, that's done. Okay, so that's loose. Just make sure you get those unhooked. There's only 2 under there. Okay, so just unhook them. If you forget, you will more than likely break them. I'm not speaking from experience, but I suggest that you be careful with them. Okay, right, so getting the trusty old T40, and we'll undo this one. And we will undo this one. You've got a bottom radiator hose really quite close to this one, so we just got to wrestle a little bit with that. So we can just get that out. I'm going to take this one right out because it is just awkward. That squeaking you can hear is the socket, or the Torx. The T40 is actually rubbing against the bottom radiator, or the radiator hose. Okay, it's coming out. And there we have it. Now, all 3-4 of these bolts are different lengths. Okay, so make sure you keep that one to one side, and you know where it goes. We're going to crack this one. Now this one has got thread lock on it, so it'll be reasonably snug all the way out. Okay. And you can see how much shorter this one is, and you can see the thread lock on there. Okay. And then what we'll do, we'll loosen off the T50. So we'll change to a T50. So there we go, that's coming out. It's not doing too badly. Just let it sit there. Get this one out, the T40 at the front. So that's out. Make sure, as I say, you don't get the bolts mixed up. And there is the T50 from the back. And one guard. Now, I have a cunning plan. Now, in all the other videos, including the instructional video for installing the X-heads, it is mentioned that you either, because of this, I think it's the 17 on, and obviously this is an 18, this rubber buffer is wider, the girth is wider. It is suggested that you either drill these rivets out or cut this back to fit. Well, I can tell you in a month of Sundays I will not be cutting or drilling anything on a brand new bike. No way. I like everything to be as stock as I can make it. And this will remain stock. Now, my plan is, and I see no reason why it won't work, is I'm going to make a spacer for this rear flange. And I'm going to make it out of 5mm aluminium plate, some smooth plate that I've got. It eliminates, hopefully, the requirement for cutting the rubber buffer or drilling the rivets out, because that's there for a reason. And according to my calculations and measurements, I should have around about a 1mm gap. Once this is all set up, there will be a 1mm gap between this rubber buffer and the outside of the hex head. So, X head I should say, not hex head. So, that's my plan. I hope my measurements are correct. So what we'll do, we'll install the X head first, and then I'll make up the plate and mount the crash bar, and hopefully it will all work. And you'll be able to see a way of putting it on your bike without butchering the rubber mounts, particularly if it's a 17 or 18 year model. Okay, so that's that. What we will now do is proceed to install the X head itself. Okay. So what we do is we get a T25 and we remove and keep the screw for the spark plug cover. Okay. So undo that. There we go. One T25 machine screw. Place that to one side. Do not throw it out. Do not lose it. You will be reusing it. Pop your spark plug, cut your spark plug cover off. Comes off like that. There we go. Don't throw it out, because when you go to sell the bike, you may want to keep the X heads
for another bike. The person that buys the bike off you might want to not have the X heads on there, for what reason I don't know, but at least you can supply him or her the original spark plug covers. So keep them, don't lose them. Right, T50. Here we go, one T50. Into this back bolt and remove. It is not overly tight. It will run on a torque, when we do it back up, it will run on a torque of around about the 75 inch-pounds, or give or take 8.5 Newton meters. Okay, so a little bit of a, there we go, and she's out. Okay, now I'm just going to relocate the camera because, actually I might be able to do it here. What we've got to do is remove this cup washer, if I can get it to part company. It's not going to. There we go. We need to remove this rubber washer, or rubber grommet, and this cup washer. Okay, you'll see why in a sec. What I'm going to do is put a little bit of oil on the back of here to make this slide over, because that's got to come over that mushroom. And I'm going to get a cloth or something to, because it cuts the bejesus out of your hands. So I'm just going to go and get that, and we'll get back to it. So, going to put a little bit of oil just on there. Okay. Just rub that in. And the idea is that you pull that over like that, and you remove that cup washer. Now, you also don't throw that bolt away either. Now this is the bolt, the T50, that came with the X heads. And what you do with this is this. You place the bolt through like that, then the cup washer, a little bit more oil, okay, and you then slide that on like that, okay, so it sits like so. All right. So that's ready to pretty much put on. Now, in the X head, you've got this rubber insert. It's sort of a rubber. It's probably polyurethane or some wonderful thing. It's a shock absorbing material anyway, and it's actually loose, but it does actually locate on pegs here just to keep it in place. So make sure that when you install it, that you do actually install the rubber insert, or the polyurethane insert, whatever you want to call it, in its correct position. All right, so what we'll do, we'll then offer this up to the bike. And I'm just going to grab the T50 and just quickly start that. Which can be a little bit fiddly. I'll just ease him out. go. That's it. Okay. Now, the spark plug cover screw that you previously took out, you need to reinstall. Okay. I'm doing this at a very awkward angle here. I think I might need to go around the other side of the camera. So just bear with me. I shall go around and put that in. Once this goes in, you don't need to tighten it up yet. It's you've got to have this, and I dropped it. Okay. Okay, that's in, and it's slack. It is not tight at all. Now, this little screw, which is supplied in the kit, it goes underneath. It mounts underneath. It's mounted at an angle and it goes into threads that are already in the cylinder head. And it goes to great pains in the instructions to say, do not cross thread, or ensure that you do not cross thread this particular screw. And once again, I'm not speaking from experience, but I can understand why it would be so easy to cross thread this, because you've almost got to stand on your head to see it. And I'm going to have to do the same. So just excuse me for 1 second. See if we can get that. And I'll give you a tip too. If you get that screw halfway, or even a fraction in, and it starts to bind, back off, because you are cross-threading it. Don't forget, the cylinder head is aluminium, and if you cross-thread that, that is really not very good. Okay, so you can then tighten this back up. You can do that. Doesn't have to be He-Man tight, but snug. Okay, so we'll just snug this little tacker up under here. Oop, didn't see that. Okay, just get him. There we go, that's tight. Right. Now, one torque wrench with, in my case, a 1/4 to 3/8 adapter on it. Set. I've got this set to 75 inch-pounds. So we do this up to 75 inch-pounds. Okay. There we go. All right. Double check these screws. That's tight. I'll just go around the other side for that. All good. Okay, so that's the X head installed. Now, I'm going to make up this flange you'll see the result of my works, my efforts, and you'll see if it works or not. Okay, so if it works or not, you're watching this video in its entirety, and if you don't, it didn't work. So let me make this flange up. We'll see how it goes, and you'll see what it looks like. So I'll just go and make it up, and I'll be back to you very soon. Okay, I'm back. That is what I've made up. Okay, that's made out of 5mm aluminium billet, or plate, whatever you want to call it. There's some scrap that I had left over, and I've contoured it to fit the back flange. I've also drilled the second hole in there just as a drain, just in case any water or moisture gets in there. Okay, so that's essentially what we've got. Now what I'm going to do is use, between these surfaces, I'm going to use some 3M, some very thin 3M double-sided tape, just to hold that on. Now we'll see how that works. It shouldn't be a problem, but if it is, I'll address it later on. But we're going to give the double-sided tape a bit of a whirl and see how that goes. So I'll just put that double-sided tape on, and we'll show you what it looks like. Okay, we've put the double-sided tape on, as you can see. It's 3M. It's very, very thin. I can't honestly remember where I got it from. I honestly can't. It's just, but it's extremely thin and it's very, very good. So what we'll do, we'll just peel the backing off, and we will then progress to putting the plate on. So that's now off. Retract the knife so I don't cut myself, which I'm good at doing. And then we just align the plate. And there we have it. The main thing is, the reason I wanted to put the double-sided on is the fact that I didn't want the plate twisting when I'm actually tightening the bolt up. Not that it probably would, but I'd just rather make sure. And the other thing too is, when the guys are doing maintenance on the bike, these guards have got to come off, and the last thing I need is for one of these plates to be lost. So I thought I'd just glue it on there. Look, if it does present a problem and it comes off, we might look at super gluing it or doing something like that. But anyway, that plate is ready to go back on, and we'll see how it looks. So we'll just place it carefully up on the bike, and I shall have my trusty T50 handy. I'm just going to drop that down for 1 second. I left my trusty T50, my big bolt, not close. So, okay, we'll give it another go. Up under the back there, sitting, bolt through. And that should be screwing in. Okay, 1 T50 in place. And we'll
will get the T40, the lower mounting plate T40. Okay guys, I'm back. Yeah, a little bit of a faff getting the bottom T40 in. What I found was easier if the top one was out, this top mount here was actually out, and then just grab hold of the bracket, the crash bar, and just brace against the exhaust like that and just pull it forward with your hand. It just gives it enough spring to get close to the hole. Be careful you don't cross thread it. That would be catastrophic. So don't force it. Just take your time and just let it all happen. I'll nip those up in a sec. Okay. So we'll put the thread lock on the upper. Now I use blue Loctite. You don't need to douse it, you don't need to hose it on. The one I use is Loctite 243. Okay, tends to do the job quite well. You can crack it open, which is really good, and that just sits in there like that. She's done. All I've got to do is do the other side. Now, what have we got? Look, I can press. I'm quite happy with that actually, because it's difficult for you to see, but I've only got to put a very, very light amount of pressure to get a gap on that rubber. It is touching the X-head cover, but it is only just touching. There is no pressure on it. So my thoughts are this, that by using this spacer at the bottom, and I'll swing the camera around in a sec if you can't see it, and I reckon it's going to do the job, and it beats, to my way of thinking, it beats butchering the bike. I'll just take the camera off the tripod and let you have a look. Okay, so that's what the flange looks like, and I reckon it looks pretty neat myself. Quite proud of that. Doesn't look out of place on the bike. Yeah, look, it might have gone a little bit smaller, but it doesn't look out of place. So all I've got to do now is do the other side and make up a flange. Now the flange for the right hand side will be a little bit of a different shape. It's more flange shape rather than having the ellipse taken out of the bottom just here. It's flatter. So when I've got that done, I'll show you, but you might get an idea by looking down through there. It's very difficult, but when I press the X-head in, I'm actually creating a gap, so there's next to no pressure on that whatsoever. So very happy with that. Saves butchering the bike, and if you wanted to take them off and put it back to stock, you've got no problems. Nobody would sort of be any the wiser. You're not damaging the bike, you're not causing any hassles whatsoever. So what I'll do, we'll do the right hand side,
But essentially, look, the right-hand side is the same as the left, and I don't think I really need to bore you with it all. If you've got something out of it, or you found it enjoyable, whatever, please give me a thumbs up. And also, if you feel these videos are of value, let me know and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it, guys, and I appreciate your time for watching. So thanks very much, and we'll catch you on the next install. It's the Motorrad Rider at the Motorrad Rider base, signing off for now.